This is the Lug Nuts Podcast.
On this episode, we talk summer car news and over-badging on automobiles. Enjoy the show. We're back. Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's summertime. It's kind of hot. Brains may not work quite as well. They don't ever really work that well anyway, so
Correct.
I don't have an excuse. I just heard a train. I didn't even know there were trains in this area.
It's the Heber Creeper.
It's the Heber Creeper.
It's that train. It's not like a train that actually transports goods or services.
No, it just transfers.
It's a tourist trap thing.
Yeah. But anyway. Good times. So summer car news, summer 2019. Woo! The first one actually is not on our shores. It's at the Goodwood, which is hard for me to say.
Yeah.
Festival of Speed.
Okay. Where is that?
So we're in the UK. It's across the pond.
Okay.
And the one thing that came across the feed I was looking at that I thought was interesting was the Ford Ranger Raptor, which we've talked about before.
We've mentioned it.
Being awesome. It's not coming here for this iteration of the Raptor, not until they refresh it. But the cool thing about the one that they had over there and that I think other parts of the world gets is it's a twin-turbo diesel engine, which I imagine would be just a hoot in this thing as far as its like off-road capabilities and things like that. So, they had that there and people were having a good time on it. And so when it comes time for the refresh...
Yeah, I think they will bring it here. I really do.
Because look at how well the Raptor sells.
Raptor does, it does well. I think maybe they don't want to cannibalize their sales from their own Ranger that they already have here,
Yeah.
And I see that sometimes with automotive companies where they can bring out a better version of it or another line of it right away, but they hold on to it because they need to sell some of what they got first.
Yeah,
maybe.
and they have several trims of the Ranger, already. But again, if you want to have that ability to go against the ZR2 and the TRD Pro, the ZR2 being the Chevy, Colorado, and then the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro, I feel like the Raptor would fit really nicely.
They would sell them,
and it would probably be even a little bit of a notch above both of those.
Maybe I think they would sell them. And I don't think they would have to try very hard to sell all of them. Yeah,
So Ford, please bring that to us when you redesign the Ranger.
I guess that would even realistically now compete. We can talk about it's now actually out as the new Jeep Gladiator. It would probably even
Have you seen one in the wild?
I have seen one parked at the dealership out over here.
Okay.
On the I've driven by one, but I have not seen one.
I think they're goofy looking.
They're funny looking. It takes some getting used to for sure.
Yeah, I don't. But why should I have to get used to something? It's sort of like when you'd buy an album back in the day, and you were like, oh, I'll get used to this. I'll listen to
learn to
50
like it.
times. And I don't do that anymore. Now
I've dated girls like that, yeah. Honestly, where it's but then I waited 8 months for somebody to say something interesting and it never happened. And I was like, okay.
Why should you have to?
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah.
Just buy the single.
If the spark isn't there, just move on. Let that be a lesson to you young lovers out there in automotive podcast land.
I don't know. I just feel
you know what? Romantic advice should be a regular. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah,
let's bounce that idea.
It should
around.
be like a book. It should catch you right away. And if it doesn't, then move on. And that's where I am with the Gladiator. It's again, we talked about this when they were talking about it coming out. Theoretically, it makes so much sense. You have you have a convertible pickup truck, essentially, with Jeep off-road capability.
Yeah.
I did read an article recently, though, that they said because the front axle is a solid front axle, that it was an article, I believe it's Car and Driver Road and Track, where they were driving it through the Mojave. And I've driven the Mojave Desert Road, which is a hoot. It's anybody who's a an Overlander. You
Ugh.
got to add that one to your like bucket list because it's a beautiful drive. It's very remote, but there are long stretches of that road where the road just is this undulations of like, it'll drop a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, a little bit up down, a little bit up down. And they said that like anytime they would drive the Gladiator, they would do the sway bar disconnect because the whole body just would get thrown.
Really?
From
Toss
side
them around.
from side to side. So they said like, and I guess with that sway bar disconnect, it automatically reconnects above like 20 miles per hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you got to stay under 20 and
know.
So I've driven that road in a Land Cruiser with independent front suspension and it was butter. I mean, it was really fun. It was really almost kind of like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get it. Like, I think it's cool. I think the price tag is redonkulous.
What's funny is that, like all Jeep Wrangler products in particular, the depreciation on those is calculated to be so low that, like, if you check out like what a lease rate can be on, like, you can get like a 24-month lease, I think with $3,000 down for like $200 and some odd a month. Now, granted, low miles, but like if you wanted to lease one of those things for like $200 a month. You can do it.
Yeah, and I imagine that'll be what a lot of people do.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because the residual value, they're just calculated to basically hold their value.
And it was Hoovies, or was it Hoovies or Doug DeMuro? I think it was Hoovies that did the
Hoovies
YouTube
garage,
video where he took it to CarMax and tried to trade it in, and that they were going to give him like $3,000 less than what he paid for it, but the dealer was willing to basically give him back. Yeah, I think he got it like even under like invoice, which is unheard of because there's rumor.
Well, he knew the dealer too, I think.
Yeah, he was friends with one of the salesmen, but the salesman said he'd buy it back even after like 3,000 miles and still be able to sell it.
He'd still turn a profit on it.
Yeah, because there are some dealerships they say that are like they've marked up the price on the first batch of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
I've never understood that. Like, you could just wait 6 months. And then, like, still have the car.
I guess it's so you can be that guy who gets the iPhone whatever version.
I just don't get that.
So you can point out.
I mean,
to
I get it, but
everybody.
Also like with something that expensive, I just don't get it. Like,
no, because like I get it if you're gonna pay like MSRP or invoice, which good luck finding one of those at invoice. But imagine paying $10,000 over the sticker.
Yeah, never.
Because when there's enough of those out there, you're gonna be. You just basically gave away $10,000, so you could say you're driving it. But
right.
Anyway, so I don't know. I think they're goofy looking. I think they're expensive, but they're super practical. And if you want a pickup truck and a convertible,
get it.
Get it.
Also, speaking of Wrangler, you said there was a new eco diesel that was on its way to the United States.
Yeah. So a couple of trim announcements for the 2020 Jeep. And I'm getting this off of, give a little shout out to the Mopar Insiders site here. They kind of just gave you some updates. They're dropping the Moab edition. I don't really know. The thing with Jeeps, the one thing I really like about Wranglers is they do all these like one-off kind of editions, which I think it's cool because then if you have one down the road, like they discontinue it. Like they won't keep doing the color and the trim and all that. Like we had the Arctic edition, which was cool. Like, it had that cool, like kind of like steel blue kind of color to it.
Yeah.
It was cool. And they don't make that anymore.
Remember the old Renegades they had different like fenders on them? Yeah.
So it's hard to keep track of like the different things that Jeep does. They are coming out with it's called the Black and Tan Edition.
Oh.
So
for beer lovers.
I guess so. Jeep people know the details of these because they're probably like geeking out over these things. But I thought it was interesting that they're dropping the Moab. So if you want one of those, pick one up before they're gone. Colors. So
the Moab specifically has that engine in it?
The Moab is just one of the trim levels.
Oh, okay.
No, the diesel. It's not officially. They say that like they still have the 2-liter e-torque engine, and You could still get the 3.6 Penn-Star engine.
Okay. Yeah, 3.6 liter V6.
But they're saying
whatever.
that the EcoDiesel V6, 3-liter EcoDiesel V6, is going to be late 2020 model year.
Late 2020. Okay.
Yeah. So for the 2020 model year. And it's going to be on all of their models.
Oh.
So you don't have to just get
Really?
like the Rubicon or the Sahara. You can get it in any of the trims, which I think is really cool. I'm really curious, and I'm guessing the answer is going to be no, if you can get that with a manual.
I don't know. I mean, the Wrangler is one of those, one of those things out there that's still holding fast, still offering the manual.
They only offer it right now, though, in the V6.
Oh,
you
okay.
can't get it in the Turbo 4
You can't get the
version.
Turbo 4, you cannot get it. Okay.
Which I gotta say, and we talk about this on almost every episode, I'm just really leery of the long-term reliability. Yes, thank you, of that 4-cylinder engine.
Yeah.
With that turbo. I just feel like you're gonna get to 80,000 miles, and that turbo has worked so hard, and it's been such a good little trooper that
Could be. I mean, Wrangler people, though, have been like, hardcore enthusiasts have been swapping diesels into Wranglers for a while. I went down a rabbit hole of like, there's a whole scene of people who will take them out of like the old diesel Volkswagen engines of the past, 15, 20 years and swap them in there because you get all that low end torque basically.
Yeah.
So which is ideal really off road. So
yeah. Well, this is interesting. I mean, the one thing they are dropping is they're dropping the 2-liter e-torque option from the Sport and Rubicon models, and it's just being replaced with the non-e-torque 2-liter turbocharged motor for the Sport and Rubicon models. I wonder if they were having some issues like off-road with that, like with
could be, yeah.
I mean, I drove one in a Rubicon, and it handled like a sports car. I cannot reiterate how peppy that thing was with that little E assist or E torque kind of thing. And basically it's like an electric motor that kind of gives you the
mild
initial
hybrid kind of thing.
Yeah, it gives you the initial like off the line kind of deal. But it's interesting to me that they're dropping it for a couple of the trims. So I'd be interested as to like, why that might be. If we have any like hardcore Jeep listeners and send us an email at lugnutspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your 2 cents on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed because I think that the 3-liter EcoDiesel V6, that could be my wife's next car.
Really?
But it has to be a manual. She really wants a manual, and I'm not going to fight her on it. It's like, okay. But, I would love to have that because of the torque and also probably the gas mileage.
It'd probably be a little bit better, yeah.
Yeah. The downside that I worry about with my wife is putting regular gas in it.
Instead of...
I hear these horror stories.
Yes.
You can't put diesel in the United States in a gas powered car because the pump is too big. It won't.
Oh, but you can put unleaded
But
in
you
a
can
diesel.
go the other way around. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's
expensive when that happens.
That makes me really nervous. I could just see like
what's
just
interesting
out of habit.
too. I just thought of for a long time diesel. Diesel and unleaded trade on different markets, right? So the price, when the price of one fluctuates, it doesn't necessarily mean the price of the other.
Yeah.
And we're, at least here in Utah, we're finally at a point where diesel has now dropped below the price of regular unleaded.
Okay.
For a long time there, it was a gallon of diesel was more than a gallon of premium, actually.
Yeah, so it didn't make sense.
It was so like it didn't necessarily make sense, to consider it for cost or mileage reasons. But we've actually turned back around, and now it's for whatever reason for the so yeah, check it out on the next time you drive by
what's
it.
not mentioned on any of this is the hybrid. Remember they were talking about the hybrid. They were testing it. No mention of it.
Yeah, they're talking big shit about that for a little bit.
And I'm like, come on. Like, I just, again, I come back to the idea of around town driving, electric only, would just be a dream. But again, I know if we go that route, we'll have to get an automatic. So I'm guessing that our next one's going to be it'll probably be the Pentastar V6, which is a great engine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of the tried and true. It's been in that for a while. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So that's the Jeep. That's
All right. Moving on.
Some news on the Jeep. Another kind of exciting bit that's coming. Do you know what's coming next week?
Oh, I think I do know. The Corvette, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the C8.
The C8.
Okay, here's what I respect about the Corvette is that I can always keep track of what generation is what because they just go in numerical order, and that makes a whole lot of damn sense.
Yes.
C1, C2, C3, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's the next one. It's the 8.
Yes.
It's the newest one, mid-engined.
And it's going to be the first, mid-engine Corvette. I was researching this today because, they have filed for copyright or patents for the name Zora as like an internal name.
Okay.
And that they say that the father of the Corvette. Now he didn't invent it, but he was a big supporter of the Corvette and was there at GM for a long time. Zora Arkus Duntov.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big fan of a mid-engine Corvette even way back in the 60s.
Oh yeah.
So he was pushing for it. He really wanted to see them do a mid-engine Corvette. They had prototypes. Their first one came out like in the early 70s. They showed one at the Indy 500. And it's just never come to fruition, but I think it's really cool as sort of a paying respect to this guy who was such an ardent supporter of the Corvette throughout the years, to somehow throw his name in the mix.
Yeah, that's cool. That's super cool.
I think with the release, they may do some cool. I just have a feeling you're going to see his name and his image posted in some way or fashion with.
Could be, yeah. I mean,
one,
the original Corvette too. The very first version was a Harley Earl, who was like an iconic, automotive designer. Which has nothing to do with this guy, of course. I'm just.
No, it's
funny aside, but like, yeah, the original Corvette, that was a Harley Earl design.
Yeah,
who did like the Buick Y job and a bunch of other things. The iconic like designer. Anyway, that said, yeah, there was a photo of the rear end of the thing that was leaked. I think
I saw that. Yeah.
So cue the the hot takes on whether it's horrible or wonderful or whatever you think.
Yeah,
I have no opinion, honestly. It's
well, and
looks
the
like
other
a Corvette rear end to me.
The other thing that you and I were thinking, because we saw it being tested here in the spring.
Yeah, and camouflage.
Early spring camouflage. I'm feeling pretty certain that there's going to be some type of forced induction because they were testing it at altitude.
Yep.
That is just this feeling that I have.
Yeah.
I hope that comes true next week when they release the stats. There's also talk of a mild hybrid type of setup. Like Bob Lutz was quoted as saying like he thinks there may be like an electric motor on the front wheels to start the initial propulsion.
I was just thinking in my brain like what would be nuts on that car would be an all-wheel drive setup. Like a mid-engine all-wheel drive, like that thing would slay.
Yeah. And I think it will. I mean, look at how fast the C7 is.
Yeah.
Around racetracks.
Yeah.
And it has so much working against it as far as like where the engine is basically.
Yeah.
Like the physics of that do not lend itself. It's much like the amazing things that Porsche does with the 911 with the engine hanging over the axle.
Yeah, right, right.
I mean, it's amazing that they get it to handle the way they do. And the fact that now Corvette's got the engine where it's supposed to be, like for optimal
weight distribution and all that garbage, yeah.
So stay tuned, people.
It's coming soon. What is it, 18th, 17th?
The 18th, they're releasing it, yeah.
Well, hopefully this episode will be out by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is exciting. What's next here on our list of what have-yous and whatnots?
Well, another bit of car news. Again,
more car news.
Kind of slow this summer.
Yeah, I feel like we're in the middle of like it's too early to announce new model year stuff, and it's too late to. We're in a weird part of the year where it's just like automotively, there's not a whole lot.
It's a little bit of a black hole right now.
Yeah.
But it has been announced that Peugeot is planning a return to the United States.
Oh.
Yeah, it was originally 2025.
Yeah,
They've
I did
now
read
pushed
this.
it back to 2023. But here's where I'm falling asleep on this. It looks like what we're going to get are going to be their larger automobiles, probably more of the crossover flavor. So like the fun hatches that you see, like we're probably not. Those,
there's no come over to my house and play kind of cars.
No,
really.
I'm interested in the move too. I get that these companies see the U.S. as like this, this potential buyer that could push up their numbers and everything else. But like, the field's pretty crowded right now. And also, like, what is your memory of Peugeot in the United States?
Not strong. I don't even know that I've ever. I mean, maybe when I was a kid, but like
they left in 1991.
Okay, so sometime in the 80s, like maybe I saw some Peugeots, but like,
there was nothing that like you were super psyched about.
No,
and I don't know. So I just think it's an interesting move. Another aspect of it is they're planning to do direct to customer sales. So
that'll be that. I'm a fan of that model.
So
actually,
that might actually give them the advantage over other manufacturers by cutting out the
I wonder
dealer.
If they're going to run into the same problems and laws though that Tesla's run into with that model.
Well, Tesla's run into that, but I mean, you look at Utah, for example, which doesn't allow it. People still buy them.
Oh yeah,
they
sure.
They have to go online and do it. They can't go to the showroom places and purchase it there.
Right.
They can't go test drive it.
Right.
Those kinds of things. But I don't know. I feel like with cars becoming more and more like appliances, there isn't as much of a need for a brick and mortar building.
Yeah, service is an issue, of course. Especially under a warranty period. That'll be a thing to consider because that's what Tesla's running into huge problems with is service and repair. I think right now.
Yeah.
Apparently, like I read recently on that note, Rivian in their build up to launch is apparently taking great pains to avoid those problems that Tesla has.
Okay.
With as far as like service and parts and all that kind of thing, and to like get those out to customers.
Well, we talked about this on an earlier episode where Tesla, one of their weaknesses is the actual manufacturing piece of it, meaning like I don't think they can build parts fast enough. They only have enough parts for like the cars that are on the assembly line. They're behind when it comes to like, a new brake light or something like that. If that happens, that you end up like damaging, like, so Rivian take note from that. But I think Rivian's probably, they're lucky that they're riding kind of on the coattails of Tesla. They're learning from all the things that Tesla
for sure
didn't do well, so,
but
so I don't know. I mean, it's sort of a meh. I just,
I'm
not super.
Unless they come out with something super cool.
But again, we're not going to get like their cool hatches, I mean, and
right.
that's the stuff that you see when you like watch, TV shows or YouTube videos where you see like
cool European hatches. Yeah.
Like, oh man, it's like a GTI. Like, not getting it.
Well,
so
that's what it is.
Anyway, do you have any other car news?
So I just one of like a funny one really that came across my feed. There is so it's not car news related, I guess. This is but if you find yourself in Italy's a beautiful country. I've been there technically. Just for a couple days really. Anyway, lovely. You can stay at a Miata themed hotel.
Wow.
Yes, it is called Miata Land. Oddly enough, it's kind of like Disneyland except for Miatas.
It's funny that this is in Italy and not like in Japan.
Right.
Totally.
But there's a guy who apparently has like, it's in Umbria, so it's near Todi. My Italian geography, I'll go on record. It's weak. So I don't know where Umbria is. I don't know where Todi is.
But basically, if you're going to Italy, people
fucking stay in the Miata Land Hotel.
Just
you can
Google
drive.
that.
You don't have to like. It's not like here we've got these cars and you can't touch them. You can like drive them.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's not exorbitant. Like the booking them on the website, which is at miataland.it. Like you can like, it's like 150. It's like 195 euros a night for some of these. 165 euros. That's like a normal hotel price.
Yeah.
Except you're sleeping in like rooms that like are named after the colors of Miatas.
Oh,
dude.
Can you like? Are the beds like Miatas and stuff?
No, they're not like race car beds.
That would be
That would be sweet.
Yeah, that'd be. Although it'd be really kind of small, they'd be singles.
Yeah. It would be uncomfortable.
But I wonder if they like have coffee tables and stuff that are made out of like Miata wheels and things like, you know.
I don't. Yeah, I'm looking at it. There's got it just looks like a nice normal hotel with I think maybe like a collection of Miatas. They've got like every like generation, iteration, and
that'd be cool.
variety you can think of. So if you find yourself in Italy and you find yourself
in need of a hotel.
Oh, the website's yelling at me in Italian, and I don't understand what it says, so I'm going to close that. If you find yourself in need of a hotel, definitely go to Miata Land.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we're going to segue into a new topic tonight. This one's kind of just, it's been bugging me. It's been bugging me since we bought our Subaru Crosstrek.
Okay.
Badges.
Okay.
We don't need no stinking badges.
What do you mean badges? Like the thing that's just on the back of your car that lets you know what brand and what
Yes, and that's
model?
all it should be. There should be 2 badges. There should be one on the front that's the make, and there should be one on the back that's the make. The model should be left out.
Why?
Because, you know what? Leave it up to the imagination. And if you're not a car person, what do you care?
You know what I noticed? This has been. I don't know if Europe still does this, but when in my more youthful days, I remember being in Europe and like all the BMWs had no badges on them. Now at the time, I think it was possibly because like it maybe made you more susceptible to theft, especially if someone knew it was like a hot, if it's like a hotter model or whatever. So like you couldn't tell if it was like an M or a 3 Series or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just because they weren't.
You could if you were a car person though, because you'd look at the fenders or you'd look at certain things.
By the way, sorry, that's
sprinklers are coming on.
Sprinklers are coming on.
Okay.
Is your windows up out there?
Yeah, they're
all
up.
right.
They're
All right, we're
good.
fine.
Yeah.
All right.
I just. It's gotten ridiculous. Like our Crosstrek, just to give you a little background here, it says Subaru
On where? On the
on
front
the back.
or the back?
Well, the front just has the cool
tailgate. On the tailgate.
On the front just has the Subaru logo,
the stars.
Right?
Yeah.
But on the back tailgate, you have Subaru, you have Crosstrek, and then you have AWD symmetrical AW. Who cares?
Are you a fan of debadging?
I debadge all my cars, and
all of them.
I will be doing that to this car, even though it's my wife's car. I'm taking it off.
Yeah.
It just looks cluttered. Another one that's driving me nuts. Have you noticed pickup trucks?
Well, the one that's absurd is the Ram, like the tailgate, the size of Ram on the tailgate on some of it. It's like it's
like Ram, motherfucker.
It's comically large. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I feel like it should have like a fist coming out of it, like Like if you get too close, like the tailgate just turns into like a Hulk fist.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
it's ridiculous. And like actually even the Ranger, like that's big.
The Ranger's embossed, so that's the new thing that a lot of them are doing. So Ford does it with the F-150. I've noticed the new F-150 and the Ranger, the Tacoma, and the Tundra have done it.
Yeah,
where it's embossed. Am I saying that correctly? It's like
I know what you mean. It's imprinted in the metal.
Imprinted in the metal.
Largely.
And I just don't I just let's leave some things up to the imagination,
Yeah.
I and on the side of Tacomas, like on the side it says Tacoma. They only make one small truck.
Yeah.
Why do you need to put that on there?
I'm a fan of debadging, especially like if you want to have like kind of a sleeper kind of job. Like if you've got like a hot car that you don't it's a car person's still going to look at it and know.
They're going to know exactly.
But if you don't want to draw attention to it,
Yeah.
like I'm a total fan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, so my Porsche, when I bought it, it was debadged already, and I thought about putting it back on there, but then I was like, no, because I love that. Like, some people don't even.
No one's going to know what this is.
No one knows what it is. Some people don't know what it is. And then, but then what happens is like car people a lot of times think it's a GT3 because it has the aero kit.
Yeah.
So like the wing and stuff looks similar to a GT3, but if you're like a real Porsche nerd, you'd know that like the front bumper is a little bit different. It has like almost like a little scoop on it. So that's how you can tell it's GT3.
Okay.
But like I like it just looks cleaner.
Yeah.
Like, and it's easier to wash. And that sounds goofy, but it's easier to wash because you're not getting caught on the letters and shit like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Easier to wax and polish.
But I think it's gotten out of control. And listen, car manufacturers, you could save money if you stop putting all these stupid badges on there.
Yeah.
You know,
and if you want to like extract, go with one step further into the interior, I think the STI, like when on one of the recent iterations of that, they count, it's like says STI like 23 times or something on the car between the outside and like it's stitched on the inside and it's like printed on the radio and on the other side of the visor. It's like
they want you to know it's an STI.
You basically have to get it tattooed on your balls or something when you buy it. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see your point.
I mean, that car's never been about subtlety anyway.
That's also true.
But here's my question for you, and for the listeners. I was thinking about this in regards to the fact that it's out of control. But back in the 80s, 90s, there was a car that kind of was controversial because it did not have the model name anywhere on the outside of it. Now, I'll give you a hint. This is a car that died when GM had to kill off some of its brands. But it was really interesting. It was a really kind of cutting-edge design at the time. Really kind of a pretty car. Came in two configurations, a V8 and a V6. Nice ride. And it was good looking. It was, for the time, it was kind of ahead of its game.
I have no idea what it would be.
You have no idea what I'm talking about?
No idea, honestly.
I am talking about the Oldsmobile Aurora. Do you remember the Oldsmobile Aurora?
Barely. It's kind of bubbly. Was that?
It was bubbly.
Bubbly.
Yeah, Google it while I'm
I will
yammering on about it.
Pontificating, waxing rhapsodically.
So I did some research on this today because I remember when it came out, I was a teenager and I remember talking to my uncle about it.
Yeah, it's super bubbly. Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
But I was like, have you noticed Uncle? I won't say his name.
Jim Bob.
Uncle Bob. Do you notice that car does not have a badge on it that tells you what it is? And he was like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. So I started doing some research today. I was like, why didn't they put the badge, or why didn't they, put Aurora on it?
Right.
Well, what happened was, it's kind of an interesting story. They were redoing the badge or the logo for Oldsmobile. And do you remember it used to be, it looked like a plane taking off. It was red. And
yeah.
Kind of looked like a peace symbol that's like a rectangle, right? So they actually did all this research to like rebrand and come up with a new logo that kind of made them hip, because they wanted to compete against the German makes and things that were selling really well.
Yeah, those are the two.
Yeah. So the new one is like, it's supposed to kind of look like it's flying off in a different direction, because they were going in a different direction, and the car. But what's funny is it almost kind of backfired on the Aurora because nobody knew what the hell it was.
Yeah. Okay.
So people would see it and they'd be like, oh, I really like that. I don't know what the hell that is.
Whatever that
and
car
this is this is pre-internet, so it's not like you can like take a picture and put it on social media and be like, "Hey, I saw this. What is this?" You know, like
right.
I think they were trying to like be cool, but at the same time they almost missed the mark, because there were probably potential customers who were like,
who just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and they're like, "Well, I can't even like go to a dealer and look that car up because I have no freaking clue what it was." But I thought it was interesting that that was one that I remember when I was kind of like going down this rabbit hole of badging and things,
Yeah.
But pendulum swung the other direction. There's too many damn badges on cars. If I see fuel injection one more time on a car, I'm going to lose my shit, because people, we've had fuel injection since like 1985.
Yeah,
you don't need to tell anybody that you have fuel.
It's not new.
If you're still putting that on your car, like, your car really sucks. Like, if that's what you're having to tell people.
Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, I would guess that's the marketing people that are in charge of all that, right? I mean, and who knows how they come up with like model names. And I still remember. I don't know why I still remember this. Remember Andy Rooney on 60 Minutes?
Yeah,
like 25 or 30 years and years ago, when he was like, well, he was still fucking alive for one thing, but he had a rant one night on 60 Minutes about he just and like I always thought his rants were honestly, frankly, not that entertaining, but that's just me. Sorry to any Andy Rooney lovers out there, but he had this rant about like car badges and their names and like how dumb he thought they were. And it's like, well, they got to come up with something. They can't just call it the BMW awesome or whatever. They've got to, come up with something. But like, it's always mystified me. Like somebody is getting paid big bucks to like do market research and figure out like, what should we call this car? And like, what's the best thing to call this car? And will people buy it if it's called the Sierra versus
the Citation, the Chevy Citation,
right?
Like, and literally their ad campaign was Citation. It works. Like how much? Like you just gave up. Like,
yeah,
you're just.
That's a bad. Although we owned it. My family owned a Chevy Citation, I believe.
Oh, those are awful cars.
Yeah.
The best badging one, a story that I remember was the Pontiac 6000 LE. Because sometimes people would confuse that for the Pontiac Ghoul. Because the LE was so close to the 6000.
Yeah.
And from a distance, that 6 looked like a G.
Oh,
so it'd be
okay.
like, yeah, I got a Pontiac Ghoul.
Got a Ghoul.
What? Pontiac Ghoul?
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, talk about random nomenclature of cars.
Yeah.
Like BMW's always been smart because they just do numbers.
Well, now they're cramming in they're cramming numbers between the numbers. I think, now they used to be the 3, the 5, and the 7, and they were like, what if we had a 1? And then now they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they've got every
number up
and then
to,
X. They're gonna have to add. They're gonna. I jokingly say this, but they're gonna come up with like the 4.5 or something at some point, just to be like, oh, there's an underserved market of 12 people who might need this horrible, ugly crossover that has, what I don't know,
no space. Yeah,
ranting a little bit, but
But anyway, so badging, it's out of control, people. If you want to debadge, just a couple of suggestions.
Hints, tips, and tricks.
Tips and tricks.
This is a new segment we call Tips and Tricks.
So if you get that new car,
sounds vaguely sexual. Sorry, go ahead.
And you agree with me that it's just too cluttered, and you want to leave a little mystery there, and you want to take it off. Hair dryer or heat gun. Careful getting the heat gun too close.
Careful with the paint on the heat gun. Yeah.
Yeah. Hair dryer and some like dental floss. Or if you can just get your fingernail, you get the kind of heat it up, and you get your fingernail, and you can just kind of slowly pull the letters off.
Yeah.
Do not do it. I learned the hard way. I bought a BMW wagon once, and it was a 325, and I did it when it was cold.
Ooh.
And
left some residue there.
I left my fingernail. My fingernail, if it touched the paint at all, first off, it was really hard to get them off because it was freaking cold. It was wintertime. Stupid. So if you're gonna do it, again, don't sue us if like something happens, But I mean,
we are not responsible for the damage you cause to your car. Disclaimer.
Take this advice, but take your time. For the biggest thing, take your time, but do it when it's warm and heat it up so that adhesive. And you really want to try to get the little foam to come with the letter, not be left on the paint. So you don't want to be like, ooh, I got the letters off. Now I got to get the foam, because that's when you're going to scratch the paint. You want to just try to slowly peel it so that the whole thing comes off, letter and foam together.
And you get the dental floss, you work that behind there. Maybe
yeah,
behind the letter
if you're having some trouble, the nice thing with that, it's not quite as abrasive. I've heard people say they use like piano strings, but that's metal. Rubbing against that. I don't think I would go that. But again, like heat it up because it'll come off really easily. So debadge your cars. Send us some pics at lugnutspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And
or tweet us.
Same.
Yeah. At Lugnutspodcast.
So keep it real. Well, you've squandered away another. How long have we been at it? This one?
Oh, we're at 37 minutes.
Squandered away 37 minutes of your life. Hopefully you're just stuck in a traffic jam or not. AC's blowing nice, and you're just enjoying the topic. And you're gonna get home tonight and be like, honey, can't watch Stranger Things. I need to debadge my car. Also, I'll just mention, if you're enjoying the show, go ahead and drop us a 5-star rating or a review on iTunes. And please subscribe. That way the episodes will just automatically land on your phone anytime. Yeah, and subscribing and rating helps other people find the show, I've learned. So yeah, do that. We'd appreciate it. Again, at Lugnuts Podcast on the Instagram, on the Twitters. You can find us on Facebook. Yep. LugnutsPodcast.com is the website. Yep. Anywhere else? That's it. Have a good summer. Bye. See you soon.